Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. At least right now it is. And so we've just looked at your work from the warm-up project. And notice how I didn't talk about craftsmanship very much. I didn't talk about uh, uh, so much about the look of things that much. I mostly focused on what it is that you made, what fueled the making of your project. In other words, what strategy did you employ to make this object? Um, and that's really, and once you can become conscious of that, that becomes a very powerful tool for getting ideas, one, and for also exploring an idea even further. If you know what you're doing, you can go further into it. If you don't know what you're doing and you start with one thing, well, you can switch horses midstream and, even many times, and it will become kind of a hodgepodge, like too many ideas in a piece or something like that, rather than going exploring and going a little bit deeper. Artists, when they really sort of find their own voice, they're really finding the strategy that speaks to them the most. And it might be a combination of strategies. So anyway, I made a list of these strategies, and I'm gonna start sharing the screen here. Those strategies are listed on a Word document or a PDF that I put in. It's in the module. So let me share screen. There we go. So it's this one here. Let me go full screen with that. So you may recognize this, and you should. It'd almost be nice to have this one out. But what I'm going to do is just so you understand what I mean by strategies, even more than like how you employed with yours. I'm going to show you some strategies that have been used that I could think of. This is just my brainstorm of ones that I know of. There are other strategies, and there are strategies that have not even been invented yet. So, but the interesting thing is that any of these strategies that are more established, entire artist careers will be spent, like I said, around one strategy, and even a whole era of artists will sort of flock around or gravitate around one kind of strategy. For instance, like the abstract expressionists, painters. Whole generation, maybe 20 years of painters fell into that school. They call it school, or this strategy of art making. So anyway, I wanted to go just through the first column here, just so you know what I'm talking about with these. And again, there's 3 columns here. So, and you have the handout in the module. So, if there's something that kind of like makes you curious in these other 2 columns, and you want to know a little bit more about it, talk to me. Ask me questions, email me, whatever you want. You can also Google some of this stuff. Some of it I might not have labeled entirely properly, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So anyway, let me go ahead and start this. And I'm just going to go through this first column here, so you know what, so you can see that each of these are really a whole world of a way of working and a way of diving in deeper. Okay, so let's see, hopefully that works. So representation is first. Representation means that it looks like something. This looks like boats in a harbor and etc. That looks like a woman, maybe even Mona Lisa. There's a butterfly right outside the window here. That looks like a guy painting a scene. That's a photograph of a guy painting. So he's painting what he's seeing, representation. Narrative means it tells a story, or suggests a story, or suggests a dream, or it suggests a happening. It can be very poetic, it can be very literal. Yeah. This is a happening of these things being poured into a bowl. Of course, there's more going on with it getting larger as it gets out of the bowl, out of the bottle. And it's sort of interesting that it doesn't fit in the bottle. So there's a lot of narrative in there. It's sort of like, how did that happen? Suggests a situation. Abstract means, there's a couple different meanings of abstract. The way I'm going to use it here is that it doesn't look like anything. So it's a form, an abstract form, but it doesn't really look like anything. A lot of art making is about abstract. It's just about pure form and pure, maybe visual delight or delight is a good word. Nice contrast there. Kitsch. Think bric-a-brac stores. Think things that are kind of like kitschy, are kind of like oh, let me just look at pictures. You'll get it right away when I show you the pictures. Things are kind of dumb and kind of funny and sort of souvenir tchotchke. And people have done a whole body of work and an entire career on just making kitschy stuff. It's kind of stupid and silly and fun, and yeah, dumb. That's kitsch. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with kitsch. That's it's a very clever way of art making, and it really actually has a lot of commentary about objects and object making. Fetish and fetish finish. Fetish really means that it's become precious through the working with the hands or being rubbed in your hands. Like a rabbit's foot is a fetish. And you put in your pocket, and or like worry stones or something like that. That's fetishized, or handmade objects that maybe that are handmade and are held in the hand and that can be in the pocket. Fetish finish is also making something it means making something very precious. And that can be done with design as well. But these are all fetish objects. They're handmade. They fit in the hand. They can be ritual objects, you know. And this is, I studied with this guy for a year, Ralph Becerra at Otis, and he does fetish finish work is just stunning, that it has layers and layers of decoration and gone through multiple firings. It's just very highly fetishized, highly finished, highly worked on, just worked on and worked on and worked on. Okay, so that's fetish finish, and it's an awesome way of working and thinking and all of that. Additive means just that. You add things on. You put things together. Okay? Kandinsky, love his work. Additive. Deconstruction means just the same, it's just the opposite. You take things apart and then kind of maybe put them back together in a different way, but it's sort of deconstruction. For instance, like that cup. This is the piece I did at a sewer factory plant in Phoenix. So I had them cut up one of the sewer pipes, and I put it back together with these plexiglass, different thicknesses of plexiglass sheets, and then stuck the thing back together. But that's deconstruction, taking it apart. Frank Gehry's Walt Disney Concert Hall. We'll see his work quite a bit. He's the architect. He lives in Santa Monica. Deconstruction. Diorama. If you've ever been to the Natural History Museum, they have dioramas that they show different animals stuff in their natural environments. So it's a sort of like a shoebox or, you know, fake environment where you show a whole thing, a whole environment. So, and it's a really fun way of working. It also plays with scale, you know, because sometimes dioramas are like this and showing mountains, or even at the Natural History Museum, they'll have mountains painted in the back and then sand, and have a fake snake in there and stuff. So dioramas are really interesting. Used in art a lot. And you can say a lot and have a lot of messages through dioramas. This is narrative too. So you can see how these things kind of dovetail. You can have more than one, this is important, more than one strategy. So this is definitely a diorama. It is also definitely narrative. It's showing a situation. And it's also, is it anthropomorphic, like animals behaving like humans? So that all these, there's like 3 strategies in here, and you can combine them very seamlessly like that. So that's an important point. When we start our next project, we'll be doing a truth to materials orientation, which I'm going to come to pretty quickly here in this slide presentation. And you can use sub strategies along with that. So the main strategy will be truth to materials, but then you can have other strategies under that, like, so I'll talk about that later. But anyway, just know you can have more than one strategy going on. You can have one overarching one and then have sub strategies. That way, again, you can dive deeper. Truth to materials. Hey, speak of the devil. Here's a wood bowl being made out of wood. and it's truth to the materials. It's not trying to hide the fact that that's wood. And it has this rough hewn quality of just chopped wood and all that. So this is clay, and it looks like clay, and it looks earthy, and it has this hole that you would see in the earth and cracks. And pottery that slumps in the kiln, it melted. This guy did that intentionally. Does really beautiful work, this guy, Steve Young. Yeah, so it's truth that it's, and pottery is made out of clay and fine porcelain. This is also commenting on the Asian tradition of ceramics with the kind of decoration that's on here. And he's overfired it so it's melted and collapsed, which clay does. It becomes melty and glassified and all that. So it's a truth to materials approach. These are my shard towers. They're in front of the Armory Center for the Arts in Pasadena. And I'm turning clay back into landscape and rock that it came from, which is what we do, what clay is. And so I made these stratified shards that have different colors and layers. So it's striated like the geological landscape is. They're almost like core samples. The super object, or trompe l'oeil, for you French, trompe l'oeil, for you Frenchies. The super object is making a material just the opposite of truth to materials. It is making something look totally different than the material you're using, which is a really big movement in clay. There's a bunch of artists that work that way. David Furman over at Pitzer, he retired just a few years ago. Richard Shaw up at Berkeley. Anyway, that's all made out of clay. So it's a very funny way of working, and there's a lot of humor in it, of making things look exactly like something else, opposite of truth to materials. Marilyn Levine, she's now deceased, but she would make leather coats, leather boots, leather suitcases. They have a sample of it over at Scripps College in the Marr collection. You can actually go and touch it, but it looks like it has metal buckles and it's a leather suitcase. It looks totally real. She even put fiberglass fibers, small ones, into the clay, wedged it in so that it acted like leather, like material. But these are fired and they're clay. Pretty incredible, huh? That's David Furman's work, I think. Victor Spinsky, something like that. He did stuff like this as well, but looks exactly like paintbrushes and stuff. They work with decals and metal lusters. This is all metal. That's a glaze. It's a metal luster fired on. It's all fired on. There's it's all ceramic materials, all glazes, underglazes, slips, nothing, no acrylic paint, no oil paint. It's all ceramic, but it's trying to fool your eye. Installation or multiples or groupings, very powerful. That's a big, and I actually have three strategies there, but it's kind of the same. With installation, you're putting things in an environment and the environment becomes the work. In other words, you can actually walk into the artwork as opposed to it stays on a pedestal, separate from you, don't touch. This one, you walk into it. And it kind of almost suggests another time or maybe another place or another occurrence. This is Anthony Gromley's. He's done a few iterations of these little people, just thousands of them, and I'll put them in galleries, and you feel like you're a world dictator looking out on all these little people staring up at you. Again, multiple objects to suggest another time or place or occurrence. That's quite beautiful, though. Come on. Groupings and multiples, and becomes a different kind of like storage room or something, or a museum of some kind. Groupings. I think that all might be on fired clay. It's like a carpet. There's just not millions, probably thousands of little elements that she put together. Architectural, inspired by architecture. I've done that. This is Richard White's work down in Saddleback College. It's a Vietnam memorial, but it's a big architecturally inspired thing. One of my pieces, actually, I've done a lot of architecture, I said. One of our projects will be architecturally inspired. And it's a clay, I don't know what you would call it, the thing that holds the fence in place. Science can inspire a lot of work. A lot of artists work with science as inspiration. I think I showed you this before. This is like based on sort of either microscopic things or things you find underwater. This is based on, these grids were based on research that found that monarch butterflies migrate from the Midwest United States down to the Sierra Madre Mountains in Mexico, and they go there following invisible UV grids of light in the sky. So here are animal or species that live on the same planet as us and operate according to totally different rules and see things that aren't even in our bandwidth of experience. So these grids are made of light. So I made these grids as if we could see them. And they cast these really cool shadows, which are immaterial, which are pointing to something that is totally not visible to humans. But a whole species operates according to it. So science can inspire work like that. David Kitty, he teaches down in Chapman College. He's inspired by biological biomorphic forms that are sort of microscopic, and he makes them huge. These are just very big scale, 5-6 feet tall. Science fiction, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I imagine I'm going to see a few things inspired by video games, which is sort of along the same lines. But you can say something. It's not just about depicting it. That's sort of like representation, just depicting something sci-fi. But this sort of 1950s sci-fi on a very small little asteroid. But anyway, that can be a source of inspiration. Natural design, looking to nature to make things. Getting your inspiration from wood and shells and all kinds of stuff. Flowers. Look at we're going to talk about this in texture in one of the upcoming projects about visual rhythm. Notice how it's far apart, further apart, getting closer, closer, closer. It has it has this rhythm to it, and it's really wide open out here. Quite beautiful. There's also a visual rhythm and repetition in here, but again, being inspired by natural, the flow of erosion over these rocks. I mean, this looks like it's made out of water or lava, but it's frozen rock. Yeah. Mixed media, bringing other materials into your work. Well, many artists do mixed media. That's kind of like a full-on strategy, doing using different materials, and then you do hundreds of different strategies within that. This is Allison Petty. She teaches the program, runs a program out at Cal State San Bernardino, and I highly recommend studying with her. She's great. Her work is stunning. And again, she's using rubber and plastics and polyester resins and all kinds of stuff along with porcelain. This is Tim Berg. He teaches at Pitzer College, and he also, this is clay, and also he has, I think they're dipped in rubber maybe, and he uses all kinds of different like auto body paints and other things for mixed media along with his clay objects. Tim again. Okay, I think that's it. So strategies, art strategies, great way of getting ideas. And that was really the point of the point again, if I haven't said it already, the point of our first warm-up project is that you are never, ever just making something out of thin air. You're always, even if you start out sort of like just open and not knowing, at some point, you'll start following a strategy. And that strategy will help. And if you know it, you get conscious about it, you can follow it even deeper and finish it. So like if you're just starting out, sometimes I'm just starting out with it like this one, I'm with a piece of clay, just starting out. And all of a sudden I realize, you know what? I'm not really making anything. I'm making sort of an abstract shape, and it's sort of forming into this kind of cool form. So I'll just follow that and keep going. I just keep going with it, right? I could have done other things. I could have done this, and I could have started writing a story like in cursive along here. That'd be kind of cool too. But anyway, all these are strategies, all good to know. Please look over that list. And the reason being is not because I'm going to test you on them. I will test you about art strategies, not what they are, but you'll see. You don't have to memorize anything. Just know about art strategies, that you're never just making something. You're always following a strategy. And look, and the reason why I made this list is also so you can look through it and see if any of them, let me stop sharing here. See if any of those art strategies appeal to you. They might be really fun. If you're like, oh, I never thought of that. Oh, you mean I can make something that looks like a car engine or and mechanical? I mean, I can just do that all semester or for the rest of my life, you know? So if any of them appeal to you, hit me up, ask me questions, do some research, get yourself turned on, okay? That's all I need to say about this one. So thank you for watching, and I will try to shave by the next talk. Bye-bye.